the new Silent Hill movie actually surprised me. Because I knew it was going to be bad, but it was actually worse than I expected.
I am shocked! Shocked! Well, not that shocked.
Well, like the title suggests, the new Silent Hill movie is not only bad, it's actually worse than I expected. Now, I knew it wasn't going to be a good adaptation, because the director's first Silent Hill movie wasn't that good of an adaptation. In my previous video, I said that the first Silent Hill movie was a decent horror flick, with some good visuals, practical effects, and monster designs, but just not that good of an adaptation. And I was hoping to get something similar here with the new Return to Silent Hill movie, or at least on the same level, but nothing could have prepared me for what I witnessed in that theater. It's somehow a worse adaptation than the first movie, but now it can't even fall back on being at least a decent horror movie because it just fails or falls short in nearly every aspect as a movie. I actually don't even know where to start or how to structure this video, because part of me wants to talk about all the changes there are from the game, but that would require spoiling the whole movie. But let's be real, you're not going to watch this movie. In fact, no one should watch this movie. But if I just focus on all the adaptation issues, those who aren't familiar with the game will probably be left in the dark because they don't have knowledge of that, and they're just looking at it as a movie. So I'm going to separate this video into two parts. One talking about how it is an adaptation, and one about how it is as a standalone movie. Let's start with how it is as a movie. So let's set the stage so we understand what this movie is even about. We follow James Sunderland, who's depressed and distraught over the death of his girlfriend, and he's not handling it that well. Then one day he receives a letter from her urging him to come to Silent Hill to find her. So that's what he does. He gets to the creepy little mountain town of Silent Hill, and he finds that the town is abandoned, outside of a few people, but he also finds monsters who pursue him as he searches for his girlfriend. So that's the premise in a nutshell. Much like the director's first Silent Hill movie, he basically took the concept and overall story and did his own thing with it. So you don't need knowledge of the games to watch it. In fact, I think it's better that you don't, but we'll get to that. But I think if you're even a fan of the first movie, you're going to be let down by this one. Hell, I liked the first movie for what it is, and I was still let down, even though I had super low expectations. Oh, and I guess I should mention how this is related or connected to the first movie. It's basically not. The director basically said in so many words that since so much time has passed between the first movie and this one, that it's basically separate and its own thing, which is why in this movie, the reason why there's ash always falling isn't because of a coal fire that's underneath the town, but instead there's a raging forest fire that's still burning somewhere. There's also mention of like a flood and water is rising and how people are getting sick or something like that. I don't know, it's not really important. It's really just a different excuse to explain why the town is abandoned and why there's ash everywhere. So continuity wise, it's pretty much its own thing. So now let's get into the movie itself. Well, for starters, it's surprising how cheap this whole movie just looks and feels. The otherworld or nightmare transitions are decent, but it's shocking that the CGI and VFX are better from a 2006 movie than it is here. The production quality overall just seems much lower, and unfortunately, it shows. Not just with the CGI, but the monster designs are a big step down. Like, there are faces on some of these monsters, including these big cockroaches, and it looks so damn goofy. And it's clearly not just really bad CGI, it's very clearly some bad costumes, especially with the nurses. This goes for both the monsters that appeared in the last movie and the new monsters that appear in this one. The line figure, the nurses, both look worse, and Pyramid Head is a huge downgrade. I swear, he keeps getting worse with every movie, and the new monsters don't fare any better. Like I already mentioned, these costumes just are not it. This is all a bummer because this stuff was the highlights of the first film. Now, according to the internet, the budget for this movie was less than half of the budget of the first, at around $23 million. So it was definitely a cheaper movie than the first. Although I will say $23 million for a horror film is a decent budget, but anyway. I also knew there were some production issues when trying to find a distributor, which is why it took a bit longer for this to actually release despite being announced back in 2022. This also bleeds into the marketing because the only piece of promotion I've been seeing are these few Instagram videos where they partner with some content creators to make some reels, and that's really about it. So overall the budget is smaller, you could definitely tell. Not just with the CGI and practical effects, but the sets too. They all just scream low budget to me. It almost looks like a fan film at times. The outfits for a few of the characters also look like cosplay. Okay, mainly Maria, if I'm being honest. That wig just isn't it. And I swear, there's a scene towards the end where the actor who plays James has to wear a fake beard, and it's just hilarious. It's so unconvincing. Just like the acting, actually. It's some of the most awkward performances I've seen in a while. Sometimes they play it up and it almost feels like a soap opera with how dramatic they sound, and it actually just comes across as kind of funny. And the amount of generic, creepy / weird characters here is eye-rolling. Angela's a creepy and weird woman, Eddie's a creepy, weird, and deranged guy who we only see for one scene, and Laura is a creepy little girl who speaks in vague and ominous lines. Just generic horror shit that we've seen before. I guess I shouldn't be surprised because this is literally what he did in the first film with Alessa and her mother. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. There's the weird cult members that we see in a few scenes. Now, I don't mind weird, strange, or out there performances, but here, it's weird and strange because the dialogue isn't good and it's very poorly acted. The acting and lines were a bit cliche and weird in the first movie, but at least it had production value to back it up. Here, it doesn't even have that crutch to lean on. But I will give credit to the actress who plays Mary, because she plays not only Mary, but Maria and Angela, and we'll get into that later. Really, so much of this movie is just stuff from the first one, just not done nearly as well. The sets, the CGI, the costumes, the monster designs, it all just feels cheaper. The characters are paper thin with performances and weird dialogue that gives me student film vibes, and as for the story, well, it's there. Honestly, a lot of this movie just feels like characters just running from a room to another room or location, and then something weird happens or there's a flashback, and it kind of repeats that for like 90 minutes. I'm being hyperbolic, but that does actually happen in the movie. The only positive thing that I can say is that most of the music is really good, and that's only because they're using the music from the games most of the time, so that's almost a given. But they do replay this one damn song over and over again, and it's the classical song Clair de Lune, and it's a good piece of music, but it's played here over and over again. Now there is a story reason as to why, but damn, it just gets annoying. Ironically, when I first heard it, it took me back to when The Evil Within first came out, because that's the save music room. You know what, it's actually better that he replays that song over and over again, rather than Promise from the Silent Hill 2 soundtrack. I'm actually amazed he showed restraint in that department. Yeah, I don't really have shit else to say about how it stands as a movie. It's basically the stuff from the first one, but not done as well. Is it worse than Revelations? No. But it's definitely not on the same level as the first one, which is crazy because that's not really a high bar if you think about it. So if you enjoyed the first film, you probably won't enjoy this one. If you hated Revelations, then you probably won't hate this one as much. But anyway, let's move on how it stands as an adaptation next. Now this is the real meat of the video and where my inner nerd is gonna come out. Full disclosure, I love Silent Hill. I own basically all of them, and I recently just beat the Silent Hill 2 remake and currently playing Silent Hill F, so I love this franchise. And as generic as it sounds, Silent Hill 2 is my favorite in the series. Very original, I know. And even though I had low expectations going in, I truly wasn't ready for the shitstorm I was about to witness in that theater. So where do I even start? Well, let's get the obvious out of the way first. The stuff we noticed immediately when we saw the trailer and screenshots. The character designs are all basically different. James is no longer wearing his "Where's My Wife" fit, and instead sporting a leather jacket, and they just took the blonde completely out of his hair. They even changed his car to a Mustang. Fucking why? Probably because they thought it'd be cooler. Speaking of cooler, the opening scene is James speeding in his Mustang, listening to music, and then he starts to spark up a J. Dude is just living his best life. Christoph Gans definitely added a lot to James and Mary's backstory. A whole lot to Mary, but we'll get to that in a sec. And I just think it's hilarious seeing James driving a cool car, wearing a leather jacket, smoking weed. Oh yeah, and also he's a painter now because sure, why not? Fuck it. Now granted, we don't know a whole lot about James and Mary's backstory in the video game, but what you do know is very relevant to the story that's being told. But here, Christoph Gans decided just to make up some shit, fill in the blanks for us, you know. Kind of resulted in him being almost a completely different character, again, like in his first film. So yeah, James, pretty different here. Anyway, so is Laura. This time around, she's a creepy little girl, like I already said, and if you played the games, you know that she's literally supposed to be the most normal and innocent one there. And Angela is also a creepy and weird distressed girl now. They're both just creepy girls saying and doing creepy things. Eddie's here, and he's a bit deranged and a bit more of an asshole, and we only see him for one scene in the entire movie, which makes me wonder why he was even included in the first place, because he really served no purpose. Maria actually has a very accurate look despite the bad wig, but we'll get more into her in a little bit. For now, let's get into the really big stuff. Mary.
Woo, we're looking for fucking Mary! Woo! Mary! I'ma take you home.
So like I already mentioned, Gans added a lot to James and Mary's backstory, and for Mary, he took a route that I was not expecting. I'm going to try to make this as brief as possible. Long story short, Mary is now a resident of Silent Hill. Mary and James get together, and when they do, they decide to live in Silent Hill. This is where we meet all these people who are close to Mary and her father, whose name is like Brian Crane or something like that. I know his last name's Crane. Anyway, this group of people worship this guy after his death, and regularly gave Mary this medicine, I'm assuming it's like White Claudia or some shit, that makes her bleed and they drink her blood and whatnot. Yeah, you know, crazy cult stuff. Go figure. By the way, this is not the same cult from the first game or the first movie or even the second movie. Completely different cult. Anyway, the stuff they've been giving her is slowly killing her and now has made her deathly ill. Are you with me so far? Well, we're not done yet. Remember Laura and Angela? Well, this time around, they're actually a part of Mary because Mary's full name is now Mary Angela Laura Crane.
Excuse me, the fuck did you just say?
I couldn't even begin to try to think this shit up. So, you know it's all taking place in James' head like normal, so his subconscious kind of took her two middle names and made two different people, which is why Angela is played by the same actress who plays Mary and Maria. This really just completely gets rid of who Angela and Laura were in the games, just for this twist or reveal in this movie. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention, Mary's father is like one of the founders of Silent Hill or something like that. I don't know, it's fucking stupid. Alright, anyway, Maria is technically the same character she is in the games as she is here, but she's not really as important at all. all. Like, she's in the movie for like 15 or 20 minutes before James gets rid of her by having Pyramid Head kill her. Oh yeah, that's another thing that they changed. Remember in the game that James kept seeing Maria get killed? Well, here, when Maria is killed, James is actually fully aware of what she is, and he has her killed by Pyramid Head before he goes to see Mary. And then there's this really funny scene where the camera like zooms in on the crack in Pyramid Head's helmet to show that it's James underneath. And then there's a flashback to a night where James is really drunk and he draws a red triangle over a portrait of himself. It's just done so bad. I was in disbelief when I saw it. Also, let's discuss this ending because it's a doozy. So Silent Hill 2 has multiple endings, and what they decided to do here is basically take the in water ending where James drives into the water after realizing what he did, but they added a small scene afterwards that kind of give it a happy ending, I guess you could say. But let's talk about the first part. So in this movie, James kills Mary, but this time it's because she asked him to, completely changing his motive and reason why he did it in the game. I guess this makes it a happier ending because now your protagonist isn't a selfish wife murderer who wanted to get rid of her because he wanted his life back. Now it's a mercy killing, which looks better. So we have the in water ending, but right before he dies or something like that, we cut back to the beginning of the movie where he met Mary, and this time he has the full knowledge of who she is and what happened, and instead of staying in Silent Hill with her, they just leave. And he rips out of the area in his Mustang, and Theme of Laura starts playing. I'm not even joking. This kind of feeds into that old time loop theory with Silent Hill 2 where James is kind of stuck in a loop of going through Silent Hill over and over again, and that the notes are from his past self warning about himself and getting himself clues. It's not really a theory that I looked much into, but it almost seems like it plays on that. Or maybe not. You know what? I don't care. I was in shock that Theme of Laura was playing, and that just took me out of it. I was also in disbelief that they completely rewrote Mary's letter to James. Like, it's much shorter and bears almost no resemblance to what was actually written. Like, come on, it was literally written for you. But they just completely changed the entire thing. Now, that's the big stuff that I want to discuss. There are definitely some smaller things that I could have mentioned, like how they may marry his girlfriend instead of his wife, or how James calls his therapist while he's inside of Silent Hill, which is interesting because you assume that Silent Hill is cut off from the rest of the world, but I guess in this version it's not. There's a bunch of little stuff like that, but I don't really want to get into it for the sake of my own sanity. It's easier just to say that just about everything you know was changed, and mostly for the worse.
If you see somebody say something good about this movie, they have been paid, they are a bot, or they don't mean well for you. This movie is worse than you thought it was gonna be.
So I guess in the end, the director really did what he did with the first film. He took the concept and characters from the game and just retold it. He takes a lot of the visuals, the music, and monsters from the games, along with the bare bones version of the story, and just tells his own version of it. That's why so much of the first and this one feel kind of familiar but vastly different. He even recreated a few scenes from the game. Of course, the infamous intro at the rest stop. Then there's his run-in with Pyramid Head where James hides in the closet, and several locations like the Abstract Daddy Room, Brookhaven, the apartments, you get it. There are several spots and locations from the game, and that's neat and all, but when it's in a movie this bad, it almost makes you wish that it was less associated with the game. Yeah, overall I did not enjoy my time watching Return to Silent Hill. Though I will say, I did go shopping beforehand. I found this sick ass shirt and hoodie at Hot Topic. I was just trying to find a way to mention that I got these. So here you are, check it out, it's pretty cool, right? So yeah, Return to Silent Hill was bad. I was just shocked that it was even worse than I thought it was going to be. But I can about do it, so see ya.
Hi, my name is Cherry Bomb.
Let's do this!